She sent an SOS to the wrong number, and the man who answered was not a cop, not a friend, not even someone she knew. He was Dante Russo, a name whispered in Chicago like a warning. Ava Monroe only wanted one normal dinner, a soft-lit restaurant, a glass of wine, a man who smiled like he was safe. But when Grant Holloway's fingers closed around her wrist, the whole room kept laughing, eating, pretending not to see her fear. Maybe you know that feeling, smiling while your instincts scream, wondering if you're overreacting until it's almost too late. Tonight's story is about danger, desire, power, and the thin line between being protected and being owned. Stay until the end, because one wrong number will change her life forever. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. Before the wrong number, before the stranger in the black coat, before the restaurant went silent around her, Ava Monroe almost stayed home. Rain tapped against the window of her Lincoln Park apartment like impatient fingers. The city outside was all wet pavement and yellow cab lights, the kind of Chicago night that made everything look cinematic if you were watching from a safe distance. From the third floor, Ava could see the fire escape shining under the street lamp, the alley below gathering puddles, the old brick buildings across the street glowing in patches where people had left their curtains open. Inside her apartment smelled like coffee vanilla lotion and the Thai food Riley Bennett had brought over without being invited. Riley sat cross-legged on Ava's bed, wearing gray sweatpants and one of Ava's old Northwestern hoodies. A carton of noodles rested in her lap. She watched Ava through the mirror with the suspicious focus of a woman witnessing a friend make a decision she did not approve of. Ava stood in front of the closet holding two dresses, one black, one blue. The blue one was softer, prettier. The kind of dress that made her look less like a law student surviving on caffeine and case briefs and more like someone who still believed Friday nights could turn into something good. Riley pointed her chopsticks at the blue dress. Absolutely not. Ava looked at her reflection. You don't even know what I was going to ask. You were going to ask if the blue one was too much. Is it? Yes, it's too much for a man named Grant Holloway. Ava laughed, despite herself. You keep saying his name like he's a villain in a property dispute. He sounds like a man who forecloses on widows and calls it market correction. He works in commercial real estate. That's not the same thing. It's close enough. Ava held the blue dress against her body and turned slightly. The fabric caught the warm light from the lamp beside her bed. It made her eyes look brighter, less tired, less like she had spent the last week buried in constitutional law notes and reheated soup. He was nice at coffee, she said. Riley stabbed her noodles. Men are always nice at coffee. Ava smiled. That's bleak. That's experience. It was one date. It was one coffee. Coffee is not a date. Coffee is a screening interview with caffeine. Ava rolled her eyes and placed the black dress back in the closet. Riley noticed. Of course, she said. Ignore the woman who loves you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not dressing for your paranoia. My paranoia has kept you alive through 3 bad roommates, 1 fake modeling agency, and that guy from sophomore year who said he was spiritually polyamorous after cheating on you. That was different. It always is, until it isn't. Ava slipped into the blue dress in the bathroom and left the door cracked. She could still hear the rain. Still hear Riley scraping the bottom of the takeout carton. Still hear her own heartbeat oddly quick for a simple dinner. Grant had picked the restaurant, the Lantern Room in the West Loop. Expensive, but not aggressively so. Elegant without feeling impossible. At least that was how he described it. Ava had met him on a dating app 3 weeks earlier. His profile had been polished in a way that made her hesitate. Too clean. Too careful. A photo in a navy suit. A photo with a golden retriever that might or might not have been his. A photo on a boat with Lake Michigan behind him. His bio said he believed in ambition, loyalty, and old-fashioned romance. Riley had nearly thrown Ava's phone across the room, but Grant had been funny in messages. Not hilarious, not the kind of funny that made you snort in public, but quick enough. He asked about school. Remembered that Ava hated olives. Sent a picture of a bookstore he thought she might like after she mentioned reading mystery novels when she could not sleep. At coffee, he had looked even better than his photos. Tall, clean-shaven, pale blue eyes, a smile that made people turn toward him without knowing why. He listened with an intensity Ava had mistaken for interest. At least she thought it was interest. She stepped out of the bathroom, smoothing the dress over her hips. Riley stopped chewing. Ava raised her eyebrows. "What? You look beautiful." Ava softened. "Thank you. I hate that for us." "Riley, I'm serious. Men make worse decisions around pretty women, and some of them think pretty women are decisions they get to make." Ava crossed the room and took her earrings from the small ceramic dish on her dresser. "You are really committed to ruining the mood. I am trying to improve the odds." Ava clipped one earring in and reached for the other. Her phone lit up on the dresser. Grant. She smiled before she meant to. Riley saw that too. "What did he say?" Ava picked up the phone. "Grant. Can't wait to see you tonight." Grant. "You'll look incredible in blue." Grant. "I made sure they gave us a private table." Ava's smile slowed. Riley set down her noodles. "Read that again." Ava locked the phone. "It's nothing. It is never nothing when your face does that. He said I'll look incredible in blue." Riley stared at her. "Did you tell him you were wearing blue?" "No." "Did you post that dress somewhere?" "I don't think so." "You don't think so?" Ava tried to remember. Instagram stories. Old photos. Maybe a birthday dinner 2 years ago. Maybe the dress was somewhere in the digital graveyard of things people could find if they looked long enough. "It could be a lucky guess," Ava said. Riley gave her a look. "People guess colors, men guess black, sometimes red if they think they're in a cologne commercial. They don't guess blue, and then mention a private table like they just arranged a hostage exchange." Ava sat on the edge of the bed and put on her heels. "You didn't like him from the beginning," she said. "I didn't like how quickly he wanted your schedule. He asked because he was trying to plan. He asked what days you had late class. He asked when I was free. He asked if you lived alone. That came up naturally." Riley's face changed. Not anger. Worry. "Ava." Ava looked down at the small buckle on her shoe. Her fingers fumbled once before she fastened it. "I know," she said quietly. "I know how it sounds when you line it up like that. But in the moment, it didn't feel bad. It felt like he cared." Riley softened, but only a little. "That's the problem. A lot of bad things arrive dressed as attention." Ava stood and reached for her coat from the chair. "I'm going to dinner in a public restaurant. I'll share my location. I'll text you when I get there. If he says anything weird, I'll leave. Define weird. Possessive, rude, aggressive. Alpha male podcast language. Good. Anything involving crypto. Excellent." Ava unlocked her phone and shared her live location with Riley. Riley watched the notification appear on her own phone. "Text me when you sit down," Riley said. "Yes." And halfway through. "Yes." And when you leave. "Yes, Mom." Riley stood and followed Ava to the door. She adjusted the collar of Ava's coat with a tenderness that made Ava's throat tighten unexpectedly. "I'm not trying to scare you," Riley said. "You are a little. I'm trying to remind you that your instincts count even when you can't prove them in court." Ava smiled faintly. "Very law school of you. I learned from the most exhausted woman I know." Ava opened the door. Riley leaned against the frame. "One more thing." Ava sighed. "What if he tries to make you feel guilty for being uncomfortable? Leave." Ava looked at her friend's face, at the seriousness in it, and the smile faded from her own. "Okay." she said. The ride to the West Loop took 25 minutes. Ava sat in the back seat of the rideshare watching the city slide past through rain-blurred glass. Chicago looked different at night, sharper and softer at once. Train tracks overhead, steam rising from vents. Office windows lit like grids of lonely stars. People hurrying under umbrellas' shoulders tucked against the cold. Her phone buzzed. "Grant, I'm outside. Don't rush. I like waiting for beautiful things. It should have been charming." Ava read it twice and told herself it was charming. The lantern room sat on a corner beneath a black awning trimmed in gold. Through the windows, Ava saw candlelight, polished wood, and the slow movement of waiters carrying plates that looked too small and too expensive. Grant stood outside with an umbrella. Navy suit, silver watch, perfect posture. He smiled when he saw her step out of the car, and for a moment, the strange unease in her chest loosened. He looked normal, better than normal. He looked like the sort of man people trusted with restaurant reservations, investment advice, and daughters. "There she is," he said. He opened the umbrella over her head before the rain could touch her. Ava smiled. "Hi." Grant kissed her cheek. It was quick, polite. His hand settled at the small of her back as he guided her toward the entrance. Ava felt the pressure of his palm through her coat. Light but certain. "You look exactly how I pictured," he said. "Is that good? Better." The hostess greeted him by name. "Mr. Holloway, your table is ready." Ava glanced at him. "You come here often?" "Enough that they take care of me." He said it casually, but something in his tone lingered. "Enough that people know where to put me. Enough that my name changes the air." The table was near the back half, hidden by a tall arrangement of winter branches and white flowers. Private, just like he said. Ava slid into the booth. Grant took the chair across from her instead of sitting beside her, and she relaxed a little. See, she told herself, public place, good manners, normal. The waiter arrived before she had opened the menu. "Your usual red, sir?" Grant looked at Ava. "You drink red?" "Sometimes." "One bottle," he told the waiter. Ava lifted a hand. "Actually, I usually don't drink much on first dates." Grant smiled at her, then at the waiter. "One bottle," he repeated. The waiter nodded and left. Ava looked down at her menu. Grant leaned forward. "You don't trust me." She laughed softly, unsure if he was joking. "I barely know you. That's what dinner is for." "Exactly, which is why I like to remember it clearly." His smile held. Then he laughed too. "Fair enough. One glass, then. The rest is mine." The moment passed, but it left a fingerprint. They ordered. Grant chose the burrata for the table before Ava had finished reading the appetizers. He recommended the pasta, told her the steak was overrated, said the sea bass was what women usually liked because it was light. Ava closed the menu. "I'll have the pasta," she said. Grant looked pleased. Good choice. Conversation found a rhythm after that. He asked about law school, and Ava told him about her constitutional law professor, a tiny woman with silver hair who could dismantle an argument so gently the student did not realize they were bleeding until she moved on to the next person. Grant laughed at the right places. He talked about buildings, old Chicago stone, warehouse conversions, the thrill of finding a property everyone else had written off and turning it into something people suddenly wanted. "I like potential," he said, swirling his wine. "Most people only see what something is. I see what it could become if someone had the nerve to take control." Ava took a sip of water. "Buildings probably appreciate that more than people." Grant's smile sharpened. "You'd be surprised." The waiter brought their appetizer. Grant served her first, which should have felt considerate. But he watched her take the first bite with such focus that she became aware of her own mouth, her own hands, every small movement. "Good," he asked. "It's good. I knew you'd like it." Ava wiped her fingers on her napkin. Her phone buzzed in her purse. Riley probably asking for the first check-in. Grant's eyes flicked to the purse. "You can answer." "It's fine." "Is it your friend?" Ava paused. "Probably. The protective one. She has a name. Riley." Ava stilled. "I mentioned her at coffee. You said she was your emergency contact and your unpaid therapist." Ava forced a small laugh. "That sounds like me." "She's single." Ava looked up. Grant smiled. "Relax." "I'm kidding." The word landed like a command. "Relax." As if he had caught her being difficult. "She worries," Ava said. "About me. About dating. Because of one dinner. Because women have to think about things men don't." Grant leaned back. "I think that's a little dramatic." Ava felt something inside her close by 1 careful inch. "Maybe." "No, I get it," he said, lifting both hands slightly. "The world is dangerous. Men are terrible. All that. But at some point you have to decide whether you want connection or constant suspicion." Ava looked toward the front of the restaurant. A couple near the window laughed over a shared dessert. A woman in a green coat adjusted her lipstick with the back of a spoon. The bartender shook a silver cocktail shaker under warm light. Everything looked safe. That made her feel foolish. "You're right," she said, though she did not believe it. Grant's expression softened, immediately rewarding her. "I don't want you to feel uncomfortable," he said. "I don't." "Good." His hand moved across the table, palm up. After a hesitation too small for anyone else to notice, Ava placed her hand in his. His fingers closed over hers. Warm, dry, firm. At first it was fine. Then he turned her hand over and traced the inside of her wrist with his thumb. Ava's stomach tightened. "You're tense," he said. "I'm just cold." "You're lying." Ava pulled her hand back gently. He did not let go. Not hard. Just enough. Her eyes dropped to where his fingers circled her wrist. "Grant." "Yes, let go." For 1 second his face emptied. Then he released her and smiled. "Sorry. I can be intense when I'm interested." Ava slipped her hand into her lap beneath the table. The skin around her wrist tingled. Not from pain, from the memory of restraint. The food arrived. Plates placed with practiced elegance. Pasta gleaming with butter and herbs. Grant thanked the waiter by name. Ava wondered if the waiter noticed the color in her face, or if he had trained himself not to see private discomfort at expensive tables. Grant took a bite and watched her until she took one too. "There," he said. "Worth trusting me." Ava swallowed. "It's good. You keep saying good like you're afraid to say great." "I'm not afraid." His fork paused. The air shifted. Ava heard Riley's voice in her head. "If he tries to make you feel guilty for being uncomfortable, leave." She reached for her wine because she needed something to do with her hands. Grant's fingers caught her wrist again. This time lower, closer to the bone. The restaurant sound faded as if someone had turned down the volume on the world. Ava looked at him. His smile was still there. His eyes were not smiling. "Pay attention when I'm talking to you," he said, softly. So softly no one else heard. Ava's mouth went dry. "I am." "No," he said. "You're looking around. You're checking your purse. You're making me feel like I have to compete with the whole room. You don't. I shouldn't have to." She stared at his hand. His thumb rested over her pulse. He could feel how fast her heart was beating. That knowledge seemed to please him. "Grant," she said, keeping her voice even. "Take your hand off me." A muscle jumped in his jaw. Then he let go. He sat back and lifted his glass. "You're sensitive." Ava did not answer. He drank, then studied her over the rim. "That's not a criticism. I like sensitive women. They feel things deeply. They bond harder." Ava's body knew before her mind admitted it. This was not awkwardness. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a door opening onto a room she did not want to enter. She placed her napkin on the table. "I need to use the restroom." Grant glanced toward the back hallway. "Now?" "Yes, our food just came." "I'll be quick." She stood. So did he. Ava froze. Grant smiled. "I'll show you where it is." "I can find it. It's tucked behind the bar. I said I can find it." Her voice came out sharper than she intended. A nearby couple looked over, then looked away. Grant noticed them noticing. His smile tightened into something socially acceptable. "Of course." Ava took her purse from the booth. His eyes moved to it. "You taking that? My lipstick is in it." He studied her face as if searching for the place where a lie might show through. Then he stepped aside. "Don't be long." Ava walked toward the back of the restaurant with her shoulders straight and her breath trapped high in her chest. She passed tables full of people who had no idea that a woman could be terrified 3 feet away from them and still look composed. She passed the bar where glasses hung upside down like small chandeliers. She passed a waiter carrying a tray of martinis, the olives trembling on their picks. The hallway to the restroom was narrow and dim, lined with framed black and white photographs of old Chicago streets. Ava pushed through the door marked Ladies and locked herself inside. Only then did she let her face change. Her breath came out in a broken rush. She gripped the sink, staring at herself in the gold-framed mirror. Her lipstick was still perfect. That felt obscene. She looked like a woman on a date. She felt like prey. "No," she whispered. The word was small, but it steadied her. No. She was not going to talk herself out of what she knew. She was not going to soften his behavior into interest or excuse control as chemistry, or sit back down because leaving might make him angry. He was already angry. He had simply been polite enough to hide it under candlelight. Ava pulled out her phone. Her fingers shook so badly the screen blurred. She opened Riley's contact, or thought she did. A message thread sat open, the name at the top half hidden by a notification banner. Ava did not look carefully. She could hear her own blood in her ears. She typed fast. "Riley, I need help. I'm at the Lantern Room in West Loop. Date is going bad. Call me with an emergency. Please." A sound came from the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Too close. Ava's thumb hovered over send. Then Grant's voice slipped through the door. "Ava." Her whole body went cold. "You okay in there?" She stared at the message. The phone trembled in her hand. "Fine," she called and hated the crack in her voice. "Just a second. Open the door." Not loud. Not a shout. Worse. Certain. Ava hit send. The message vanished. For half a second she felt relief. Then she saw the name at the top of the screen. Unknown number. Her mind refused the information at first. It tried to fix it, rearrange it, make the letters become Riley. They did not. Ava had sent her plea to a stranger. Outside the door, Grant waited. Inside the restroom, 3 dots appeared on her screen. The 3 dots vanished. Ava stared at the screen so hard the letters seemed to pulse. Unknown number. Who is this? Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She could hear Grant breathing outside the restroom door, or maybe she only imagined it. Either way, he was too close, too patient, too certain that eventually she would open the door, because women like Ava had been trained to be polite even when fear was crawling up their spine. She typed with shaking fingers. "Ava, I'm sorry. Wrong number. The reply came almost instantly. Unknown number. Are you safe? Ava closed her eyes. Outside, Grant knocked once. Ava. Her breath caught. She typed one word. Ava. No. For a moment, nothing happened. Then another message appeared. Unknown number, which restaurant? Ava looked at the locked door. Her reflection in the mirror had gone, pale lips, parted eyes, bright with panic. She could no longer pretend away. Ava, the Lantern Room, West Loop, unknown number. Stay where you are, Ava. Please don't come. I made a mistake. Unknown number. No, you didn't. Ava stared at those words until they blurred. No, you didn't. A stranger believed her faster than she had believed herself. Grant knocked again, harder this time. Open the door. Ava turned on the faucet. Cold water rushed into the marble sink loud enough to buy her a few seconds. She shoved the phone into her purse, dried hands that were not wet, then forced herself to unlock the door. Grant stood in the hallway. He was smiling. That scared her more than if he had been angry. There you are, he said. Ava stepped out, keeping her purse tight against her side. I told you I was fine. You sounded upset. I'm not. You are. He reached toward her face, and she flinched before she could stop herself. His hand froze. For one brief second, the smile disappeared. What stood behind it was colder, hungrier. A man offended by the existence of her fear, as if her fear insulted him. Then the smile returned. I'm not going to hurt you, Ava. She wanted to say that men who were not going to hurt women usually did not need to announce it in dark hallways. Instead, she said, Can we go back to the table? Grant studied her. The hallway was narrow. He filled most of it. Behind him, warm restaurant light spilled across the floor, close enough to see, not close enough to feel safe. Of course, he said. After you. Ava walked past him. She felt his eyes on the back of her neck the whole way. The restaurant had not changed, and that made it worse. Forks still touched plates. Wine still caught the candlelight. A man at the bar still laughed too loudly at something a woman said. The world had not paused just because Ava's had tilted. She slid into the booth. Her pasta sat untouched, the sauce beginning to dull at the edges. Grant sat across from her, calm again. Too calm. You know, he said, twirling pasta around his fork, I've been nothing but kind tonight. Ava reached for her water. Her hand trembled once before she wrapped it around the glass. I didn't say you weren't. No. But you're acting like I did something wrong. She took a sip, buying time. Her purse buzzed against her thigh. She did not move. Grant's eyes dropped to it. Aren't you going to check that? It can wait. It seems important. It's not. The purse buzzed again. Grant leaned back. Check it. It was not a suggestion. Ava opened her purse slowly and angled the phone toward herself. Unknown number 2. Minutes out. Unknown number. Do not let him know. Unknown number. I'm coming in through the front. Ava's pulse slammed so hard she felt it in her throat. Grant watched her face. Who is it, nobody? Nobody makes you look like that. It's school. At 9:30 on a Friday night, Ava locked the phone and set it face down beside her plate. One of my classmates is dramatic. Grant's mouth curved. I don't like being lied to. Ava did not answer. The air inside the restaurant shifted. She felt it before she understood it. A small change, like the pressure before a storm. Conversations near the entrance thinned, then softened. The hostess said something bright and professional, but the sentence faded before it reached its end. The front door opened. Rain whispered across the threshold. Ava did not turn around. Grant did. Irritation crossed his face first. Then confusion. The footsteps came closer. Slow, measured, unhurried. They stopped beside the table. Ava looked up. The man standing there wore a black wool coat over a charcoal suit. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, with a face built from sharp lines and old sins. He did not look like a rescuer. He looked like the man people needed rescuing from. His eyes found hers. They were dark, steady, and unreadable. Ava Monroe. Her mouth went dry. Yes. Grant stood too fast. His chair scraped against the floor. "Excuse me," Grant said. "We're in the middle of dinner." The stranger ignored him. "You sent the message." Ava swallowed. By mistake. His gaze moved to her wrist. The skin there still carried a faint red mark from Grant's fingers. When the stranger looked back at her, his voice stayed quiet. "Doesn't look like one." Grant laughed once, sharp and humorless. "Who the hell are you?" For the first time, the stranger looked at him. It was a small thing, a shift of attention, nothing more. Grant's expression changed anyway. Not fully. He caught it fast. But Ava saw the flicker in his eyes, recognition mixed with something sour and afraid. The stranger spoke. "Dante Russo." The name landed at the table with weight. Grant's throat moved. Then pride rushed back in to cover the crack. "I don't care who you are. This is private." Dante tilted his head slightly. "Private ended when she asked for help. She didn't ask you." Ava stood. Both men looked at her. Her legs felt weak, but her voice came out clear. "I'm leaving." Grant's face flushed. "No, you're not." The restaurant seemed to go quieter around them. A waiter stopped 3 tables away with a pitcher of water in his hand. The couple by the window had stopped laughing. Ava clutched her purse. "I am." Grant stepped into the narrow space beside the booth. "Ava, sit down. You're embarrassed and making a scene." Dante moved. Barely. Just 1 step closer. Grant stopped as if he had met a wall. Dante's voice was low enough that only their table could hear. "Move." Grant looked at him, then at Ava. "This is insane," he said. "You're going to walk out with some stranger because we had one tense conversation." Ava felt heat behind her eyes, but she refused to blink. "You grabbed me twice." Grant's jaw tightened. "You're exaggerating. You followed me to the restroom. I was worried. You blocked the hallway. I wanted to talk." Ava heard her own voice harden. "You wanted control." Grant stared at her as if she had slapped him. Dante reached into his coat. Grant flinched. The movement was quick, almost invisible, but Dante noticed. His mouth did not smile, though something like contempt crossed his eyes. He pulled out a money clip, placed several bills on the table without counting them, and looked at the waiter. "For the meal. Keep the rest." The waiter nodded too quickly. Dante turned back to Ava and offered his hand. He did not grab. He did not hurry her. He simply held it there, palm open, waiting. Ava looked at that hand. Large, steady. Dangerous, maybe, but not demanding. She placed her fingers in his. Dante's hand closed around hers with careful warmth. Grant stepped forward. Dante did not raise his voice. "Don't." 1 word. Grant stopped. His face twisted with humiliation, anger, and something Ava could not name until she saw him glance around the restaurant. People were watching now. That was what he hated. Not that he had scared her, that others had seen her leave. Dante led Ava toward the front door. She expected Grant to follow, expected shouting, a hand on her arm, a scene. But when she glanced back, Grant remained beside the table, breathing hard, eyes fixed on Dante's back. The rain had softened when they stepped outside, turning the street into a black mirror. Headlights slid across wet pavement. People moved beneath umbrellas, laughing, arguing, living ordinary Friday nights. Dante released Ava's hand the moment they reached the awning. The absence of touch startled her. "My car is around the corner," he said. Reality returned in a hard rush. Ava stepped back. "I'm not getting into your car." Dante looked at her. For the first time, something almost like approval touched his face. "Good." She blinked. "Good. You shouldn't get into a stranger's car just because he interrupted dinner. You are a stranger." "Yes." "And you're saying that like it's normal." "It is normal." Ava wrapped her coat tighter around herself. "Then what now?" Dante reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He turned the screen toward her. There was a photo of a black Cadillac Escalade parked under a streetlight. The license plate was clear. Beneath it was a contact card. "Victor Salazar." "My driver is Victor," Dante said. "He's been with me 11 years. The plate is K729M4. Take a picture. Send it to your friend. Send my name too." Ava stared at him. "You planned that speech. I've given versions of it before. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to give you control." Ava's grip tightened around her phone. Behind them, through the window, Grant stood near the table, watching. Dante's gaze flicked past her. "He's waiting for me to leave." Ava did not turn around. "You don't know that. I know men like him." Her voice dropped. "Because you are one." Dante's eyes returned to hers. A long silence sat between them. "No," he said finally, "because I was raised by worse." Ava did not know what to do with that. Her phone buzzed. Riley, again. Ava sent a quick text with Dante's name, the plate number, and her live location. Then she answered the call. Riley's voice exploded through the speaker. "Where are you?" "I'm outside the restaurant. Why did your location freeze for 7 minutes? Why are you sending me a license plate?" "Who is Dante Russo?" Ava looked at him. Dante had stepped several feet away, giving her privacy without pretending not to listen. "I'm safe." That is the sentence people say right before they are not safe. "I know. I'm sorry. Grant got weird. Someone helped me leave. Someone... It's complicated. Are you alone with him?" "No." Dante glanced toward the corner. A black Escalade rolled into view with its headlights low. Victor stepped out. He was in his 50s, broad gray at the temples with the stillness of a man who had survived enough to stop wasting movement. Riley's voice sharpened. "Ava, if you are in danger and cannot say it, say pineapple pizza." A laugh almost broke out of Ava, but it caught on the edge of a sob. "I'm not saying pineapple pizza. That's not an answer. I'm not in danger." "You swear?" Ava looked through the glass again. Grant was gone from the table. Her stomach dropped. "I swear," she said, less certain now. Dante saw the change in her face. "Where is he?" Ava whispered. Dante turned toward the restaurant. The front door opened. Grant stepped outside, phone pressed to his ear, his eyes scanning the sidewalk until they locked on Ava. Dante moved closer, not touching her. Riley was still talking. "Ava, I have to go," Ava said. "No, you absolutely do not have to go. I'll keep my location on. I'll call you from the car." "From whose car?" Ava ended the call before Riley could shout again. Dante opened the rear door of the Escalade. Ava looked from him to Grant. Grant took one step out from under the restaurant awning. Dante did not look threatened. He looked bored. That, more than anything, made Grant hesitate. Ava got into the car. Dante followed, leaving a careful distance between them. The door shut with a heavy, sealed sound that muted the rain in the street. Victor looked at her through the rearview mirror. Where to Miss Monroe Ava gave her address in Lincoln Park. Her voice sounded far away from her own body. The car pulled from the curb. Ava looked out the back window. Grant stood on the sidewalk, still on the phone, his face lit by passing headlights. Then he vanished behind rain and traffic. For 3 blocks, no one spoke. The inside of the car smelled like leather cedar and something expensive Ava could not name. Her hands shook now that the danger had a door between them. She pressed them together in her lap. Dante noticed but said nothing. That restraint unsettled her almost as much as everything else. Finally, he spoke. "You sent the message to me by accident." "Yes, you were trying to reach Riley." Ava looked at him. "How did you know you said her name on the call?" "Oh." Silence again. Then she asked the question she had been holding since the restaurant. "Why did you come?" Dante looked out at the wet city. "Because you said you needed help. That's it. For most people it should be." Ava studied his profile, the hard line of his jaw, the calm that sat on him like armor, the kind of calm that did not come from peace but from familiarity with danger. Most people don't leave whatever they're doing and run to a stranger. "I didn't run." Despite herself, Ava huffed a small laugh. Dante looked at her then, and something in his expression shifted. Not softness exactly. More like surprise that she had found even that much humor in the wreckage of the night. Her phone buzzed again. "Riley. I am tracking you. Riley. Do not turn it off. Riley." "I swear to God, Ava," Ava typed back. "I'm in the car. Heading home. I'm okay. Riley. Send me a photo of him." Ava glanced at Dante. "I'm not asking him for a selfie," she muttered. Dante's mouth curved faintly. "Your friend is thorough. She's terrifying." "Good." Ava sent Riley a photo of the car interior, instead catching only Dante's sleeve and the edge of Victor's shoulder. Riley responded with a string of furious texts Ava did not have the strength to answer. Victor's eyes shifted to the rear-view mirror. Dante noticed. "What is it?" Victor kept his voice even. "Gray BMW. 3 cars back, picked us up outside the restaurant." Ava's blood went cold. "No." Dante did not turn around. Plate Victor recited it. Dante pulled out his phone and made a call. "Gray BMW heading north on Halstead. Plate C148QX. 2 occupants if he picked someone up, 1 if he didn't. I want eyes on it. No contact unless necessary." He listened. Clean. Then he ended the call. Ava stared at him. "That's Grant. Most likely. He followed us." "Yes." Her hands started shaking again. Dante's gaze dropped to them. "Put your seatbelt on." She looked down. She had forgotten. The small, ordinary instruction almost broke her. She clicked the belt into place with trembling fingers. "What happens now?" she asked. "Victor keeps driving. My people make sure he stops following." "Your people?" "Yes." "What kind of people do you have who can just do that?" Dante met her eyes. "The kind you should be careful around." At another time that might have sounded like a threat. Now it sounded like a warning. The Escalade moved through the city with smooth confidence. Blocks passed in flashes of wet brick, glowing signs, closed storefronts, late-night bars. Ava watched every pair of headlights behind them until they blurred together. Victor turned onto a quieter street, then another. Not toward her apartment. Ava sat straighter. "This isn't the way." "No," Dante said. "Why?" "Because your apartment is where he expects you to go." Ava turned to him. "You can't just decide that." "I'm not. I'm explaining it. You already changed direction." Victor changed direction. "Because you wanted him to." Dante inclined his head. "Yes." Anger cut through her fear clean and hot. "I don't know you." "No, You don't get to manage me. Something flickered in his eyes, not annoyance. Recognition. You're right. Ava blinked. Dante looked toward the front windshield. We'll circle for 5 minutes. If the BMW is gone, Victor takes you home. If you want out sooner, we stop wherever there are lights and people. Ava held his gaze, searching for the trap. There was none she could see. Fine, she said. Dante nodded once. A minute later, Victor's phone buzzed. He glanced down, then back to the mirror. Handled. Ava's mouth went dry. Handled how Dante answered before Victor could. He was pulled over. By police, no. Her stomach tightened. Dante's voice remained calm. He is not hurt. His car is blocked. He is being told that continuing would be unwise. That sounds illegal. It often is. Ava stared at him. There it was. The thing Riley would have heard instantly. The shadow beneath the rescue. The reason Grant had gone pale when Dante said his name. Who are you? She asked. Dante looked at her for a long moment. Someone who doesn't like men who corner women. That isn't an answer. No. Are you dangerous? Yes. The honesty stole whatever she had planned to say next. Dante leaned back, creating even more space between them. But not to you. Ava hated that some part of her wanted to believe him. When they reached her street, the rain had thinned to mist. Her building looked ordinary and fragile under the street lamp. 3 floors, old brick, a front door that sometimes stuck unless you lifted the handle, a lobby light that flickered when the weather got bad. Victor parked at the curb but left the engine running. Ava looked up at her windows. Home should have felt like relief. Instead, she imagined Grant standing below those windows last week after coffee, smiling as she waved from the door, learning exactly where she disappeared at night. Dante reached into his coat and removed a card. Black paper. White lettering. Dante Russo. A phone number. Nothing else. He held it out. If Grant contacts you again, do not respond. Save everything. Call the police. Ava took the card carefully. And you, if he comes here, call me too. Why? Because the police document danger. His eyes held hers. I interrupted. Ava should have thrown the card back at him. Instead, she slipped it into her purse. Victor stepped out and opened her door. The cold night air rushed in. Ava climbed out slowly. Her legs were steadier now, though not by much. At the building entrance, she turned back. Dante remained inside the car, half hidden in shadow, watching, but not approaching. For the first time all night, he let her walk away on her own. Ava unlocked the front door with stiff fingers and stepped into the dim lobby. Behind her, the Escalade did not move. Not until she reached the stairs. Not until she looked back through the glass and nodded once. Only then did the black car pull away from the curb and slide into the Chicago night. The lobby smelled like wet coats, old wood, and the lemon cleaner Mrs. Alvarez used every Sunday morning, even though it was Friday night and the floor was already muddy again. Ava stood there with one hand on the stair rail and the other pressed around the strap of her purse. The building was quiet, in the way old buildings never fully were. Pipes knocked behind the walls. A radiator hissed somewhere above her. From the street, a car passed through a puddle, sending water against the curb with a soft slap. She looked through the glass front door. The black Escalade was gone. Only then did her body understand that she was alone. Not alone in the comforting sense. Not alone in the way she had wanted to be when Grant followed her to the restroom. Alone as in no Dante Russo sitting in a black car outside. No Victor at the curb. No man with a voice like smoke telling her what to do and somehow making the world feel less likely to collapse. Ava hated that she noticed his absence. Her phone vibrated in her hand. Riley. Are you inside? Ava typed with stiff fingers. Yes, in the lobby. Riley. Go upstairs. Lock the door. Send me a picture of the lock." Ava almost smiled. Almost. She climbed the stairs slowly. Every creak sounded too loud. Every shadow gathered too thick near the corners. On the second floor, Mr. Kaplan's television murmured through the door some old crime show with dramatic music and someone shouting about evidence. Ava stopped for half a second listening to that false, tidy version of Danger. On television, Danger had a soundtrack. In real life, it had a man smiling at dinner while his thumb rested on your pulse. When she reached her apartment, she fumbled the key once, cursed under her breath, and finally got the door open. She stepped inside quickly and locked it behind her. Then the chain. Then the deadbolt. Though the deadbolt was old and loose and suddenly looked ridiculous. A cheap piece of metal pretending to be certainty. Ava took a photo and sent it to Riley. "Riley, I'm coming over." "Ava, you don't have to." "Riley." That was not a question. Ava leaned her back against the door and closed her eyes. Her apartment looked exactly the same as it had 2 hours ago. The law books were still open on the kitchen table. Riley's abandoned takeout carton still sat in the trash, one chopstick sticking up like a tiny flag. The lamp beside the couch cast a soft yellow circle across the rug. Her blue dress reflected faintly in the dark window. Nothing had changed. Everything had. She walked to the kitchen and got a glass of water. Her hand shook so hard the water trembled against the rim. She drank anyway, too fast until her throat hurt. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown. Number, "I cannot believe you embarrassed me like that." Ava went still. Another message came through. Unknown number. "We need to talk." Then another. Unknown number. "That guy does not know you." "I do." The glass slipped from Ava's hand and shattered in the sink. She backed away as if the broken pieces had moved on their own. For several seconds she only stared at the screen. Not Grant. It did not say his name. But she knew. The room tightened around her. A fourth message appeared. Unknown number. "Call me like an adult." Ava blocked the number with fingers that had gone cold. The silence lasted less than a minute. Then her phone vibrated again. Another unknown number. Unknown number. "Blocking me proves my point." Unknown number. "You run the second someone tells you the truth." Unknown number. "You were rude tonight, Ava." Her breath turned shallow. A knock hit her door. Ava screamed. "Ava! It's me," Riley called from the hall. "Open the door before I kick it and ruin both our security deposits." Ava rushed to the door, checked the peephole, then opened it. Riley stood there in sweatpants, a trench coat, and rain-soaked sneakers. Her hair was pulled back messily, her face bare and tense. She held a canvas tote in one hand and pepper spray in the other. The moment she saw Ava, her expression cracked. "Oh, honey." Ava tried to say she was fine. Instead, she started crying. Riley stepped inside, locked the door behind her, and wrapped both arms around Ava with the kind of fierce pressure that made it harder to fall apart and easier at the same time. "I'm here," Riley said into her hair. "You're home. You're here. I've got you." Ava clutched her like a child. "I sent it to the wrong number." "I know. I thought it was you." "I know." "He came anyway." Riley pulled back enough to look at her face. "Who came anyway?" Ava wiped her cheeks with the heel of her hand. Dante Russo. The name changed the air. Riley did not ask who that was. That was Ava's first warning. Her friend's mouth parted slightly, then closed. She looked toward the window, then at the door, then back at Ava. "Say that again." Dante Russo. That was the man who answered. Riley set the tote on the floor very slowly. "Ava." "What?" "Tell me everything. From the beginning." Do not skip the parts you think will make me panic because I am already there." So Ava told her. She told her about Grant ordering the wine, about the questions about the hand on her wrist. She told her about the hallway outside the restroom, about sending the text about the answer from a stranger. She told her about Dante walking into the restaurant and the way Grant's face changed when he heard his name. Riley listened without interrupting. That scared Ava more than if she had shouted. When Ava reached the part about the car following them, Riley sat down on the couch as if her knees had given out. "And Dante had people stop him." "I think so." "You think so?" "He said Grant was not hurt." Riley laughed once, but there was nothing funny in it. "That is not the comfort he thinks it is. He got me home." "I am not arguing with that. Then why are you looking at me like I walked into traffic?" Riley leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "Because Dante Russo is traffic. He is not a man you bump into. He is a system. He is money lawyers, private security, old family power, and people who stop cars in the street without calling police." Ava folded her arms around herself. "You know this, how my brother worked a case adjacent to one of their companies?" "Not directly. Nobody ever gets directly to the Russos unless the Russos allow it. Construction contracts, shipping routes, nightclub ownership, private security firms, political donations. Some of it legal. Some of it dressed up until no one can prove it is not." Ava looked toward her purse where Dante's card sat inside like a hot coal. "He helped me. I believe that. He did not touch me unless I took his hand. I believe that too." Then what Riley's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "Then you need to understand that a dangerous man can be gentle in one moment and still be dangerous. Both things can live in the same body." Ava looked away. Her phone buzzed again. Both women froze. Ava picked it up. "Known number. I am outside." For 1 6-second, the room stopped. Riley moved first. She crossed to the window and pulled the curtain aside by 1 inch. The street below was wet and mostly empty. A cyclist passed under the street lamp. A woman with a dog hurried toward the corner. Parked cars lined the curb. Riley scanned everything. "I do not see him." Ava's chest hurt. "Maybe he's lying. Or maybe he wants you to look." Another message arrived. "Unknown number. You looked beautiful tonight. It is a shame you let him ruin it." Riley turned from the window. "Screenshot everything." Ava did. "Do not answer." "I know. Block that number too." Ava blocked it. Riley pointed toward the table. "Now we call the police." Ava sank into the kitchen chair. "And say what a man I went on one date with texted me and grabbed you, and followed you, and is now using multiple numbers to contact you. They will write it down." "Yes. And then we have a record." Ava gave a small, bitter laugh. "A record does not stand outside your building." "No, but it gives us something to stand on." Ava stared at the cracked screen protector on her phone. She had dropped it last month outside the library and kept telling herself she would replace it. Tiny lines ran across the glass, splitting every message into pieces. Her eyes moved to her purse again. Riley saw. "No," she said. Ava did not pretend not to understand. "He told me to call if Grant contacted me. And what exactly do you think he will do? I do not know. That is the problem." Ava picked up the purse anyway. Riley stepped closer. "Ava, I am just going to tell him what happened. People like him do not receive information neutrally." Ava pulled out the card. Black paper, white letters, a phone number that looked too simple for the kind of door it opened. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Then she sent a text. "This is Ava Monroe. Grant has contacted me from 3 different numbers. He said he is outside. I blocked all of them and took screenshots." The answer came before Riley could speak. Dante, send them to me. Ava did. Dante, do not answer unknown calls. Keep your curtains closed. Is Riley with you? Ava looked up. How does he know your name? Riley's face went pale with anger. I hate that sentence, Ava typed back. Yes. Dante, good. Stay away from the windows. Ava, are you sending someone? Dante already did. Ava's stomach twisted. Ava, I did not ask for that. There was a pause this time. Dante, no, you did not. Another message appeared. Dante, I am asking now. May I have someone watch the building entrance until morning? Ava stared at the screen. Riley read over her shoulder. That is better, Riley said reluctantly. Still alarming, but better. Ava typed slowly. Yes, outside, only. Dante understood. Ava waited, but no more messages came. Riley let out a breath and rubbed both hands over her face. This night is insane. Ava laughed weakly. I said that in the car. You were in a Mafia Boss's car. I hope you said worse. He said he was dangerous. At least he has brand consistency. Despite everything, Ava smiled. The smile did not last. They called the police. An officer took the report over the phone and told Ava to save all messages, avoid contact, and call immediately if Grant appeared in person. His voice was calm and practiced, not dismissive exactly, but shaped by too many calls and not enough ways to fix them. When Ava hung up, the apartment felt smaller. Riley made tea, neither of them drank. Ava changed out of the blue dress and into an oversized sweatshirt. She folded the dress over the back of a chair instead of hanging it up because touching the fabric made her think of Grant, saying he knew she would wear it. Around midnight, Riley announced she was sleeping on the couch. You have work tomorrow, Ava said. I also have eyes and a functioning sense of danger. You cannot guard me forever. Good thing forever is not tonight. Ava did not argue. She lay in bed with the lamp on and stared at the ceiling. Every sound became a possibility. A car slowing outside, footsteps in the hall, the radiator ticking like knuckles against glass. Once she thought she heard a man's voice and sat up so fast her head spun, but it was only someone laughing on the sidewalk below. At some point she slept. Morning arrived gray and thin. Ava woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Riley arguing quietly with someone in the hallway. She got out of bed and found the apartment door open. A woman stood just inside the threshold. She was tall with dark hair pulled into a tight knot and a black coat that looked chosen for movement rather than fashion. Her eyes moved over the apartment in quick, precise measurements. Window, door, fire escape, Riley, Ava. Ava stopped. Who are you? The woman turned fully. Nina Cross. Ava looked at Riley. Riley held up both hands. I did not invite her. I opened the door because she said the lobby lock is broken, and then I remembered I am apparently a fool before coffee. Nina's expression did not change. Mr. Russo asked me to assess the apartment. Ava went cold. No. Nina nodded once, as if expecting that answer. Understood. Then leave. I will. But first you should know the front building lock does not catch unless the door is pulled hard. The camera in the hallway is fake. Your deadbolt is loose. The frame is soft. The fire escape window does not latch. Ava's mouth went dry. How do you know about the window? I checked it from the outside. Riley's voice rose. From the outside, it took less than a minute. Ava wrapped her arms around herself. You climbed my fire escape? Yes. To prove someone could, to confirm someone could. That is still breaking into my life. For the first time, Nina's expression softened by a fraction. I know. The honesty caught Ava off guard. Nina reached into her coat and placed a white business card on the table. Locksmith. He can come within the hour. Door frame reinforcement, new deadbolt, proper latch for the window. Mr. Russo offered to cover it. You can refuse. The number is there either way. Ava stared at the card. I do not want his money. Then use yours. Riley made a sound that was almost approval. Nina turned toward the door, then paused. For what it is worth, I told him not to send me inside without asking first. Ava looked up. You work for him. Yes. And you disagreed with him. Often. Does he listen? Nina considered that. He is learning. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Riley locked it immediately. Ava stood in the middle of the room, barefoot, hair tangled from sleep, feeling as if strangers had mapped every weakness in the place she was supposed to feel safest. Riley touched her arm. You okay? No. Good. That is the correct answer. Ava looked at the locksmith card, then at Dante's card still on the table from last night. 2 cards. 2 men. 2 kinds of fear. By 10 that morning, Ava and Riley were sitting in a small campus security office that smelled like burnt coffee and printer toner. A woman named Officer Daniels took Ava's statement with the steady patience of someone who knew the difference between panic and exaggeration. Ava described the dinner, the wrist-grabbing, the restroom, the messages, the car. Officer Daniels wrote everything down. Do you know Mr. Holloway's address number? I know he works in commercial real estate. I have his dating profile. That helps. Send screenshots to this email. Also, send every message from last night. Ava nodded. Officer Daniels folded her hands on the desk. I am going to recommend you file for a protective order. Given the physical contact and repeated unwanted messages, it is worth starting the process. How long does that take? It depends. Sometimes a temporary order can move quickly. A full hearing takes longer. How much longer? Officer Daniels did not lie with false comfort. Could be weeks. Riley's jaw tightened. Ava looked down at her hands. Weeks sounded like a lifetime when someone had found your building in one night. After the report, Riley walked Ava to her constitutional law lecture, even though Ava told her not to. The campus looked painfully normal. Students hurried with coffee and backpacks. Someone laughed too loudly near the library steps. A tour group crossed the quad behind a guide walking backward with practiced cheer. Ava sat through class and heard almost nothing. Her phone stayed face down on the desk. Halfway through the lecture, it buzzed once. She told herself not to look. Then she did. Dante Grant Holloway, 36, commercial real estate broker, divorced 11 months ago. Former spouse filed 2 domestic disturbance reports, no charges. Prior complaint from a former girlfriend at her workplace, no arrest. Ava stopped breathing. Another message arrived. Dante. He has a pattern. Ava's fingers tightened around the phone. Ava. How did you get this Dante resources? Ava. That is not an answer. Dante. It is the honest one. Professor Whitaker's voice continued at the front of the hall, something about precedent and restraint. The word restraint stuck in Ava's mind like a cruel joke. Ava typed. What are you going to do? Dante did not answer immediately. Then, Dante. Nothing. Without your permission. Ava read the sentence 3 times. She wanted to believe it. She did not know if she could. When class ended, Riley was waiting outside near a tree, arms crossed, coffee in hand, ready to fight God or municipal government, whichever showed up first. Ava handed her the phone. Riley read Dante's messages. Her face moved through fear, anger, and something more complicated. This is exactly what I meant. He found things the police did not tell me, or things the police could not legally hand to you in a text message during class. I needed to know. I am not saying you did not. I am saying information from him always comes with a shadow attached. Ava took the phone back. What am I supposed to do? Wait until Grant does something worse. No. We document. We file. We secure your apartment. We make noise in all the official places. And if official places are too slow, Riley looked at her for a long moment. Then we get through slow without letting Dante Russo become the only fast thing you trust. That landed harder than Ava expected. She looked across the quad. Students moved through pale morning light, laughing, rushing, living inside a version of the world where danger came with warnings and solutions arrived in order. Her phone buzzed again. Dante. A locksmith is available now if you want him. Ava looked at Riley. Riley sighed. Use the locksmith, not the man. So Ava did. The locksmith arrived an hour later, a cheerful older man named Pete, who smelled like peppermint gum and carried a toolbox covered in stickers. He reinforced the frame, replaced the deadbolt, and fixed the fire escape latch, while Riley hovered like an inspector, and Ava sat at the kitchen table filling out forms for a protective order. Pete handed Ava 3 new keys when he finished. Solid now, he said. Not perfect, nothing is. But anybody tries that door, you will hear them regret it. After he left, Ava stood by the door and turned the new lock again and again. The sound was heavy, final. Riley watched her. You should eat. I am not hungry. I did not ask what your stomach believes. Ava almost smiled. Then her phone rang. Unknown caller. The room went still. Riley reached for it. Do not answer. Ava let it ring. It went to voicemail. 10 seconds later, the notification appeared. Ava played it on speaker before she could talk herself out of it. Grant's voice filled the room tight and controlled. Ava, I do not know what you told that guy last night, but he had no right to interfere. We were having a private conversation. You cannot run away every time things get intense. That is not how adult relationships work. Call me back. The message ended. For a moment, no one moved. Then Riley picked up her coat. We are going back to campus security. Ava looked at the new lock, then at Dante's card, then at the phone in her hand. It rang again. This time, the name on the screen was not unknown. Dante Russo. Ava let it ring twice before she answered. His voice was quiet. Are you safe? Ava closed her eyes. For now. A pause. I would like to meet you somewhere public, Dante said. Not tonight, not in a car, not while you are afraid. Why? Because your friend is right not to trust me. Ava opened her eyes. Riley was watching her from across the room. Dante continued. And because if you keep calling me, you deserve to know what kind of man answers. Ava looked at the rain beginning again against the window, soft at first, then steadier. Text me the address, she said. The address arrived 17 minutes later, Ash and Maple. Ava searched it on her phone and found a coffee shop near the lake tucked between a florist and a narrow bookstore with green-painted trim. The photos showed warm lights, small round tables, old brick walls, and windows tall enough to reflect the sky. It looked public. It looked harmless. That somehow made her more nervous. She spent Saturday morning trying to study and failing. Case notes blurred in front of her. Every paragraph became Grant's voice. Every vibration of her phone made her hand tense before she even looked at the screen. Riley stayed until noon, then left only because her manager called twice and threatened to replace her shift with a college sophomore named Ben, who apparently could not be trusted with the espresso machine. Before leaving, Riley stood in Ava's doorway with her coat half on and her face set in that expression Ava knew too well. Text me when you get there. I will. Text me when he arrives. He'll probably be there first. Then text me when you arrive and see him sitting there like a villain in a cashmere sweater. Ava sighed. Riley, I am coping through insults. I know. And keep your location on. It's on. And if he says anything that makes the little voice in your head whisper, "Run, you run," I do not care how nice his coat is. Ava looked down. Riley softened. I'm serious. So am I. Riley stepped closer and took both of Ava's hands. You can be grateful to him and still be careful. You can be curious and still be cautious. You can like the way he made you feel safe and still ask whether that safety has teeth. Ava held her friend's gaze. I know. Riley studied her for a moment, then nodded. Good. Because I love you, and I am not emotionally prepared to lose you to a man whose name sounds like it belongs on a federal file. Ava laughed, and this time it felt almost real. After Riley left, the apartment became too quiet. Ava tried to eat toast. She managed half a slice. She tried to choose an outfit and changed 3 times, not because she wanted to impress Dante, she told herself, but because every choice seemed to say something. Jeans felt too casual. A dress felt like too much. In the end, she wore black pants, a cream sweater, and the coat she used when she wanted to look more confident than she felt. Before she left, she checked the new deadbolt twice. The lock turned with a solid click. The sound helped. Outside, Chicago had washed itself clean. The rain had moved on, leaving the streets bright under a pale afternoon sun. Puddles caught pieces of sky. The air smelled like wet concrete coffee and the cold edge of the lake. Ava took the bus. She could have ordered a ride share. She could have accepted the car Dante did not offer. But the bus felt ordinary, and ordinary was something she needed. She sat by the window with her phone in her hand and watched mothers fold strollers. Students climb on with backpacks. An older man read the newspaper with his finger moving under each line. No one knew she was going to meet a man who had walked into a restaurant and changed the temperature of the room. No one knew her purse carried a black card with white letters. No one knew that fear could make even sunlight feel suspicious. Ash and Maple was busier than the photos suggested. People filled most of the tables. A barista called names over the hiss of steamed milk. Someone laughed near the window. A child in a red coat pressed both hands to the glass display case and stared at lemon tarts as if they held answers to life. Ava saw Dante immediately. Corner table. Back to the wall, clear view of the door. Of course. He stood when she entered. Today he wore dark jeans, a black coat folded over the chair beside him, and a charcoal sweater that did nothing to make him look less dangerous. In daylight he seemed less like a ghost from the city's underbelly, and more like a man who had learned how to carry shadows into ordinary places. You came, he said. Ava slipped off her gloves. You sound surprised. I am. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought your friend might tie you to the radiator. Ava almost smiled. She considered it. His eyes moved over her face, not possessively, not hungrily, but with careful attention. How are you? The question was simple. That made it harder. I don't know. Dante nodded as if that answer made more sense than fine. Coffee black. He went to the counter himself. Ava watched him order, watched the way people moved around him without understanding why they made space. It was not fear exactly. It was instinct. Some part of them recognized weight, even if they could not name it. He returned with 2 coffees and placed hers in front of her. Thank you. You're welcome. For a moment they sat in the noise of the coffee shop. Cups clinked, milk steamed, a chair scraped. Life continued in small domestic sounds. Ava wrapped both hands around the cup. You said Riley was right not to trust you. She is. That's not usually how people try to earn trust. I'm not trying to sell you a cleaner version of myself. Then, what are you trying to do? Dante looked down at his coffee. His hands were large, still scarred faintly across the knuckles. Not fresh scars. Old ones. Stories closed over by skin. I'm trying to give you information before you decide whether to keep my number. Ava's throat tightened. You make it sound like my choice matters. It does. You sent someone to my apartment. Yes. Without asking. Yes. You had Grant stopped last night. Yes. By people who were not police. Yes. The honesty should have reassured her. It did not. It made the room feel sharper. Dante leaned back slightly, giving her more space across the table, though he had not moved close. My family owns construction companies, restaurants, private security firms, shipping interests, and pieces of things that do not appear on public documents. Some of it is legitimate. Some of it became legitimate after money passed through enough hands. Some of it never will be. Ava stared at him. The coffee burned her palms through the paper cup, but she did not let go. My father built it, Dante said. I inherited it. That is the clean version. And the dirty one, his eyes met hers. I helped keep it. The words settled between them. Ava heard Riley's voice in her head. Both things can live in the same body. You hurt people, Ava said. It was not a question. Dante did not look away. Yes, people who deserved it. Sometimes. The coffee shop noise seemed to dim. Ava swallowed. And the other times. Something moved behind his eyes, old and unwelcome. The world I come from is not as precise as men like me pretend it is. Ava looked toward the window. Outside, a woman walked a golden retriever past the glass. The dog stopped to sniff a puddle. The woman laughed and tugged the leash gently. Normal life. Ava turned back. Why tell me this? Because last night you saw the useful part of my life. The car, the driver, the men who can stop another man from following you. That part feels like safety when you are afraid. His voice lowered. But safety from my world always comes with the world attached. Ava said nothing. Dante continued. I have enemies, people who smile at fundraisers and send messages through broken windows. Men who owe my family money. Men who think I owe them blood. If you stand near me, someone may decide you are a door they can use. Ava's fingers tightened around the cup. Has that happened before? Dante looked away for the first time. That was answer enough. There was a woman, he said. Not what you're thinking. Not a grand, tragic love. She was a friend of my sister's. Kind. Stubborn. She helped Isabella through a hard year. I gave her rides home sometimes because she worked late and the neighborhood was rough. He paused. Ava did not interrupt. One night someone thought she meant more to me than she did. They used her to send a message. Ava's stomach turned. Did she die? No? The answer came fast. Too fast. But she was hurt. Yes. What happened to her? She left Chicago. His jaw tightened. She was smart. The child at the display case laughed as a barista handed him a cookie. The sound cut through the darkness at the table and disappeared. Dante looked back at Ava. I tell you this because I do not want you walking blind into something because I showed up when another man scared you. Ava studied him. That sounds noble. It isn't. No. No. If I were noble, I would have made sure you were safe, given the police my statement, and disappeared. Why didn't you? Dante's gaze dropped to her mouth for the briefest second, then returned to her eyes. Because I have not stopped thinking about you. The words landed softly. Ava felt them anyway. She looked down at her coffee. You barely know me. I know. I was terrified. That's not the same thing as connection. I know that too. Do you? His expression did not change, but his voice softened. Yes. For the first time, he sounded tired. Ava took a breath. I need to say something. Say it. No more sending people into my apartment. Agreed. No more making decisions for me because you think you know better. His silence stretched. Ava narrowed her eyes. Dante. I heard you. That was not agreement. It is difficult for me to agree to something I know I may fail at. Ava sat back. That is the most honest and least comforting thing you could have said. I know. Try again. A faint shadow of a smile touched his mouth. All right. I will not make decisions for you because I think I know better. If I believe you are in immediate danger, I will tell you what I see and ask what you want unless there is no time. Ava considered him. That's better. I'm learning. Slowly. Yes. She took her first sip of coffee. It was bitter and too hot. It grounded her. And no watching my campus. Dante's face stilled. Ava saw it. The instinctive refusal before he buried it. No, she said. I have not spoken. You didn't need to. His fingers curled once around his cup. Grant knows your school. And I know campus security. I know Riley. I know how to call 911. And if he gets close before they arrive, then I handle it. Dante's eyes hardened. Handle it how? By screaming. By running. By making a scene. By doing what I should have done at the restaurant before I convinced myself I was being dramatic. He looked at her wrist. Ava pulled her sleeve down without thinking. Dante saw that too. His expression shifted. Not anger. Guilt. I do not like feeling useless, he said. You are not useless just because you are not in control. The sentence surprised both of them. Ava heard herself in the silence after it, heard the truth of it, heard that it was not just for Dante. He leaned forward slightly. No one has said that to me in a long time. Maybe they were scared to. They were right to be. Should I be? Dante held her gaze. Yes. Ava's breath caught. Then he continued. But not because I would hurt you. Because if you stay near me, you need to know fear will be part of the landscape. I can reduce it. I cannot remove it. Ava looked around the coffee shop again. Warm lights, brown sugar packets, a couple sharing a muffin, a student highlighting a textbook. The world had gone on making ordinary things while hers became impossible. What do you do? She asked quietly when you're not being terrifying. Dante blinked. The change in subject seemed to knock him slightly off balance. Ava almost enjoyed that. What when you can't sleep? When you're not running companies or sending Nina Cross up fire escapes? What do you do? He looked at her for several seconds. Then he answered. I play piano. Ava stared. You play piano? Yes. Like mafia mood music in a dark room. This time he almost smiled. Usually Chopin. Of course it is. My mother insisted every civilized man should understand music. Did it work? No. Ava laughed. The sound left her before she could stop it. Real, startled, a little breathless. Dante watched her like he had never seen laughter up close. That made her stop. What she asked? Nothing. No what? He looked down. You looked less afraid. Ava did not know what to say to that. So she asked him about piano. He told her his mother, Carmela, had made him practice every afternoon when he was a child, even when his father said music made boys soft. Dante had hated it until he realized the piano room was the only place in the house where men did not talk business in front of him. For 1 hour, no one asked what he had seen, who had visited, what names he had overheard. For 1 hour, he said, I was only a boy trying not to disappoint my teacher. Ava watched his hands. I read mystery novels, she said. When you can't sleep, yes. Why? Because they end. Dante looked at her. She shrugged, embarrassed by the honesty, but unable to take it back. The mess gets explained. The clues mattered. The bad guy was there the whole time, but someone finally sees him clearly. Dante's eyes softened in a way that made him look younger and more dangerous at the same time. "Do you want to become a prosecutor?" Ava shook her head. "I thought I wanted civil rights law. Maybe advocacy work. Maybe something that helps people who get ignored until the damage is impossible to deny. People like women reporting men like Grant." Ava looked at her cup. Maybe. They talked longer than Ava planned. Long enough for her coffee to go cold. Long enough for the child with the cookie to leave with his mother. Long enough for the light outside to shift from pale afternoon to gold. The conversation moved carefully at first, then with strange ease. Books, bad winters, favorite places in the city. Dante's hatred of deep dish pizza, which Ava called suspicious and possibly criminal in Chicago. Ava's habit of rereading the last chapter of a mystery first when she was stressed, which Dante called chaos. It felt almost normal. That was the most dangerous part. Her phone buzzed. Riley status. Ava typed under the table. Alive. Public coffee shop. Still talking. Riley blinked twice if he is monologuing about honor. Ava smiled. Dante noticed. Riley. Yes. Does she still think I'm going to murder you? She has not ruled it out. Good. Why do you keep saying that? Because blind trust is how people get hurt. Ava looked at him for a long moment. My friend wants to meet you. I assumed. She wants to look you in the eye and decide whether you are worth the risk. Dante's expression turned unreadable. And are you asking me to submit to questioning? I am inviting you to dinner. At your apartment? Yes. With Riley? Yes. Will there be weapons? Only her personality. That may be worse. Ava smiled. Friday night. Bring wine and patience. I have wine. Then work on patience. He inclined his head. I can try. Ava stood when the sky outside began to darken. Dante stood too, but he did not reach for her coat until she looked at it and then at him. He understood, stepped back, and let her put it on herself. A small thing. It mattered. Outside the lake, wind cut through her sweater and lifted strands of hair against her cheek. Dante walked beside her to the bus stop, his hands in his coat pockets, his body angled subtly toward the street. Ava noticed. You're doing it again. What positioning yourself between me and danger? That is not a decision. That is a reflex. Reflexes can be trained. He looked at her, then deliberately moved to her other side, closer to the building, leaving Ava on the street side. She stared. That is not what I meant. It felt wrong. Did you survive barely? She laughed again. The bus approached with a sigh of brakes and lights. Dante looked at her. When can I see you again? Her stomach turned over, not with fear this time. I have an exam Wednesday. After. Maybe. That was not no. It was not yes. I can work with maybe. The bus doors opened. Ava stepped up, then turned back. Dante stood on the curb beneath the streetlight, dark coat moving slightly in the wind, looking like a man who belonged to another world and had somehow paused at the edge of hers. Dante. Yes. No watching my campus. His jaw tightened. Then he nodded. No watching your campus. Ava wanted to believe him. She sat near the back of the bus and watched him grow smaller through the window until the bus turned and the city swallowed him. By Wednesday afternoon, Ava had slept badly for 3 straight nights and memorized none of the material with the confidence she wanted. Grant had gone silent after the voicemail. No texts, no calls, no unknown numbers lighting up her screen. The silence should have helped. It did not. Riley said silence meant the reports and the warning had worked. Ava said maybe. Neither of them sounded convinced. The exam ended at 3:15. Ava walked out of the lecture hall with a headache behind her eyes and her phone in her hand. Students poured into the hallway around her, complaining about essay questions, laughing about weekend plans already free from the tension she still carried under her skin. She reached the glass doors of the law building and stopped. Grant Holloway stood outside. Khaki coat, clean shave, pale blue eyes, the same smile. He lifted one hand. Ava's body went cold before her mind caught up. She turned back toward the security desk, but Grant stepped inside before she reached it. "Ava," he said. His voice was gentle. That made it worse. "I just want 5 minutes." She held up her phone. "You are not supposed to contact me. I'm not contacting you. I'm standing in a public building. You followed me to school. I came to apologize." Students moved around them. One bumped Ava's shoulder and muttered sorry without looking up. Grant's eyes flicked to the phone. "Do not call him." Ava's thumb hovered over Dante's name. Grant smiled sadly like she had disappointed him. "That is exactly the problem. You let a stranger get in your head. Move. I scared you at dinner. I know that." Ava froze. The admission landed wrong because she had wanted to hear it and knew she could not trust it. Grant stepped back, hands visible. "I have a temper. I am working on it." He pulled out his phone and showed her a calendar notification. "Therapy appointment. Thursday, 4 in the afternoon. See?" Ava looked at the screen. Something in her wanted the world to be simple enough that a therapy appointment changed what his hand had felt like around her wrist. "I'm glad you're getting help," she said. "But you need to leave me alone." His smile thinned. "You won't even give me a chance. No. Because of Russo. Because of you." The softness left his face. "There it is." Ava stepped back. Grant followed. "You humiliated me in that restaurant. You let that man treat me like some kind of criminal. You grabbed me. I touched your wrist. After I told you to let go. Because you were being irrational." Ava's pulse pounded in her ears. The hallway felt too crowded and not crowded enough. "This conversation is over." She turned. Grant's hand closed around her wrist. Same place. Same pressure. Ava's vision narrowed. "Let go. Not until you listen." She drew in a breath to scream. A hand settled on Grant's shoulder. A familiar voice cut through the noise calm enough to make people turn. "She told you to let go." Grant's grip loosened instantly. Ava looked over Grant's shoulder. Dante stood behind him. Not in a black coat this time. Not rain-soaked. Not dramatic. Just there. His expression was still. His eyes were not. Grant went pale. "You said you would not watch my campus," Ava whispered. Dante heard her. Something in his face shifted, small and painful. Grant looked between them and laughed, but the sound shook. "You two are insane." Dante did not look away from Ava. "I know," he said quietly. Grant pulled his hand back and stepped away, trying to recover the shape of a man in control. "This is harassment," he snapped. "I am going to report both of you." Dante finally looked at him. "Please do." Grant's mouth shut. Dante stepped aside, leaving a clear path to the door. "Leave." Grant's eyes burned into Ava. "This is not over." Ava's voice came out low. "Yes, it is." For once, she said it before Dante could. Grant looked as if he might answer, but the security officer at the desk had stood up. Students were watching now. Phones were out. Cameras changed men like Grant. Witnesses made them smaller. He turned and walked out through the glass door, shoulders stiff with rage. Ava stood still until he disappeared. Then she turned to Dante. Her hand shook around the phone. "You lied to me." Dante did not defend himself. "Yes, you promised." Yes. You had someone watching me. Yes. Were you here the whole time? No. Someone called me when he appeared. Ava laughed once, sharp and hurt. That is supposed to make it better, no. People were still watching. Ava did not care. You do not get to become another man who thinks my fear gives him permission. Dante flinched, not visibly to anyone else. But Ava saw it. His voice dropped. You are right. I know I am. I broke my word. Yes, I am sorry. The apology was quiet. No excuse attached. That made her angrier because she wanted him to fight badly enough that leaving the conversation would be easy. Instead, he stood there in the middle of the law school hallway, powerful and still and wrong. Ava looked down at her wrist. The skin was red again. Dante followed her gaze. His face changed. Something dark moved through him, something old and violent waking. Ava saw the moment he locked it away. Not for Grant. For her. I'll file the report, Dante said. The security cameras caught him grabbing you. Your officer can use it. My lawyer can send the footage through proper channels if you approve. If I approve. Yes. She looked at him. He held her gaze. No command, no pressure, just the offer. Ava's breathing slowed by 1 degree. Send it to Officer Daniels, she said. And Riley. Dante nodded. Done. And after that, no more watching me without permission. I understand. No. You heard me before. I need you to understand. He stepped closer, then stopped before entering her space. I understand that if protecting you costs you your freedom, then I am only changing the shape of the cage. Ava stared at him. The hallway noise returned slowly. Voices, shoes, doors opening, a phone ringing somewhere near the stairs. Her anger did not disappear, neither did the fear. But something else stood between them now, a truth spoken plainly enough to touch. Ava put her phone in her coat pocket. Friday dinner is still happening, she said. Dante blinked. That is not what I expected you to say. I know. Riley may stab me. She might. Will you stop her? That depends on how the evening goes. For the first time since Grant appeared, Dante's mouth curved. Ava did not smile back. Not yet. She walked past him toward the exit. After a moment, Dante followed, keeping 3 careful steps behind her. By the time Ava reached her apartment that Friday, the new deadbolt sounded less like metal and more like a decision. She turned the lock once, then again, then stood with her palm flat against the door as if the wood might speak back. The hallway outside was quiet. No footsteps. No low, male voice calling her name. No shadow waiting by the stairs. Still, her wrist remembered Grant. Her mind remembered Dante. Her heart, traitorous thing, remembered the way Dante had looked when she called him another man building a cage. Ava set her bag on the kitchen table and looked around the apartment. It had never felt smaller. The couch Riley had slept on. The window Nina had inspected from the fire escape. The table where Dante Russo would sit in less than an hour if Riley did not throw him back into the street first. She changed twice, then gave up and stayed in jeans and a soft black sweater. It was her apartment. Her rules. If Dante wanted elegance, he could go back to whichever dark room men feared him in. At 7, Riley arrived with tiramisu pepper spray and the expression of a woman walking into a negotiation with a hostile government. Ava opened the door. Riley held up the dessert. I brought something sweet so my personality can stay where it is. That sounds promising. It is not. Ava stepped aside. Riley entered, looked around the apartment, checked the window latch, checked the new lock, and then checked Ava's face. You okay? No. Good. Honest answer. Ava rubbed her hands over her sleeves. I still invited him. I know. You think I am making a mistake. I think you are standing close to a fire and telling me the warmth feels nice. Ava looked toward the window. The city outside was a blur of wet light and passing headlights. Maybe I am tired of being cold. Riley's face softened at that, but only for a second. Then someone knocked. Both women went still. Not a pounding, not Grant's impatient rhythm from the restaurant hallway. 2 measured knocks. Ava walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Dante stood on the other side, holding a bottle of red wine in one hand and nothing else. No men behind him, no visible weapon, no black car at the curb that she could see from the angle of the peephole. Just him. That somehow made him look more dangerous. Ava opened the door. Dante's eyes moved to her first, then Riley, then back to Ava. "Good evening." Riley folded her arms. "You are early." Dante glanced at his watch. 3 minutes. "Exactly." Ava stepped back. "Come in." Dante entered slowly, as if the apartment were sacred ground and not a third-floor rental with a crooked bookshelf. He handed Ava the wine. "Thank you for inviting me." Riley did not move. "I did not invite you." Dante looked at her. "No. You allowed it." Riley narrowed her eyes. "Do not get poetic with me." Ava took the wine to the kitchen to hide her smile. Dinner was pasta because Ava knew how to make it without thinking. Garlic, tomatoes, basil from the half-dead plant that refused to fully give up. Riley opened the tiramisu and set it on the counter like ammunition. Dante took off his coat only after Ava gestured to the chair. He sat where he could see the door because, of course, he did. But when Ava noticed, he looked at her and moved 1 seat over. Riley saw that. She saw everything. For several minutes they ate with the careful politeness of people not yet ready to admit they were in a room full of weapons. Then Riley set down her fork. "Have you killed people?" Ava closed her eyes. Dante did not reach for his wine. He did not look offended. He did not pretend to misunderstand. "Yes." The words sat at the table with them. Ava opened her eyes. Riley's face did not change, but her fingers tightened around her napkin. "Recently, no. That is not as comforting as you think. It was not meant to comfort you." Ava looked at him. "Dante." He turned to her. "You asked me to be honest." "I did." Riley leaned forward. "Did they deserve it?" Dante looked back at her. "Some did. And the others?" A muscle moved in his jaw. "I live with the others." Riley was quiet for the first time since he walked in. Rain tapped softly against the window. Somewhere below, a car door slammed. Ava could hear her own breathing. Riley picked up her glass of water. "If she gets hurt because of you, I will spend the rest of my life finding a way to make you regret it." Dante nodded. "Good." Riley frowned. That was not a compliment. It should be. Ava needs people who love her enough to be unreasonable. Ava looked down at her plate, her throat tightening. Riley studied him like she hated that answer and respected it anyway. "You do not get to absorb her life," Riley said. "You do not get to put guards around her and call it love. You do not get to make her smaller so your world can feel manageable." Dante's eyes moved to Ava. "I know. Do you—" "I am learning." Riley gave a small, humorless laugh. Men always say that when they want credit for step 1. Ava almost choked on her water. Dante's mouth curved faintly. "You are very direct. I am very scared." That stripped the humor from the room. Riley's voice lowered. "She is my family. Maybe not by blood, but by every choice that mattered. I have watched her forgive people too fast. I have watched her talk herself out of discomfort because she did not want to make trouble. I am not watching her disappear into some beautiful nightmare because you answered one text at the right time." Dante sat still. Then he said, "Neither am I." Riley blinked. he continued, voice quiet. If Ava chooses to step away from me tonight, I will still make sure Grant faces consequences through every legal channel available. I will not punish her. I will not withdraw protection out of pride. I will not make her gratitude into a debt. Ava stared at him. The room went soft around the edges. Riley looked at Ava, then back at Dante. You say that very well. Dante took a sip of water. I have had excellent legal counsel. Despite herself, Riley laughed once. It cracked the tension enough for everyone to breathe. Dinner did not become easy, but it became human. Riley asked about Dante's family, his businesses, his mother, and the private security company that definitely sounded like a polite mask for less polite work. Dante answered what he could and admitted when he would not. Ava listened. She watched not only what he said, but what he refused to dress up. After dinner, Riley and Dante ended up in the kitchen while Ava washed dishes. Ava did not mean to listen. She listened anyway. Riley's voice was low. She thinks you saved her, Dante answered. I interrupted one night. She looks at you like you are both the storm and the shelter. Silence. Then Dante said, That is what scares me. Ava stopped moving, one plate half rinsed in her hands. Riley said nothing for a long moment, then softer. Do not make her regret believing there is a difference. I will try not to. Try harder. I will. Ava turned off the faucet before either of them could know she had heard. By 9:30 the wine was half gone and Riley had lowered the emotional temperature from active hostility to armed monitoring. Dante stood near the door with his coat over one arm. I should go, he said. Ava walked him to the hall. Riley stayed in the kitchen, visible enough to make a point. Outside the apartment, the hallway smelled faintly of dust and rain. Dante stood one step below her on the stair landing so he did not tower over her. Thank you, he said. For dinner? For letting me be seen by someone who loves you? Ava leaned against the doorframe. She is still not convinced. She should not be. You are really committed to not making this easier. I do not want easy to trick you. The words should have sounded rehearsed. They did not. Ava looked at his face at the exhaustion beneath the control. I heard what you said in the kitchen. Dante's eyes flickered. Then I meant it twice. Ava almost reached for him. She did not. He noticed that too. Good night, Ava. Good night, Dante. He walked down the stairs without looking back. Ava closed the door and locked it. Riley appeared beside her. Well, she said. Ava looked at her. Riley sighed. I still hate this. I know. I hate it slightly less than I did at 7. Ava smiled for the first time all night. That is practically a blessing from you. Do not get comfortable. They were cutting into the tiramisu when Ava's phone buzzed. Unknown number. The sound erased every soft thing from the room. Ava picked it up. A photo filled the screen. Her building, taken from across the street. In the photo, her window glowed yellow behind the curtains. Under it, a message. Grant, you should have talked to me when you had the chance. Riley's face went white. Ava did not move for 3 seconds. Then she did exactly what she had promised herself she would do. She called the police first. Her voice shook, but the words came out. My name is Ava Monroe. I filed a report about Grant Holloway. He is outside my building or near it. He just sent me a photo of my apartment window. Riley was already taking screenshots, already checking the curtains, already sending the image to Officer Daniels. The dispatcher told Ava to stay inside, keep the doors locked, avoid the windows, and wait for officers. When Ava ended the call, she called Dante. He answered on the first ring. Are you safe for now? Grant sent a photo of my building. I called the police first. A pause. Good. He may be outside. I know. Ava went still. What does that mean? Dante's voice stayed controlled, but she could hear the steel beneath it. Victor saw a car matching his 2 blocks away when we left. I told him not to engage unless Grant approached the building. Ava closed her eyes. You were watching. I was watching the street. Not you. That is a thin line. Yes. Riley mouthed something furious from across the room. Ava held up a hand. Dante, listen to me. I am listening. You do not touch him. Silence. You do not make him disappear. You do not send someone into an alley. You do not turn this into something I have to carry. His breathing changed. Outside, a siren wailed faintly, still distant. Ava gripped the phone tighter. If you care about me, you let the police arrive. Dante did not answer. Dante. His voice came back lower. I am outside. Ava rushed to the window, then stopped before reaching the curtain. Riley grabbed her wrist gently. No window. Ava stepped back. You are outside, across the street. Stay away from the glass. Ava's heart slammed against her ribs. Where is Grant? Near the alley. He sees me. Another siren joined the first. Ava's voice dropped. Do not move toward him. Grant's voice came faintly through the phone, distant but real. Is she up there? Is she listening to you now? Dante did not answer him. Ava covered her mouth. Riley took her other hand. Dante spoke into the phone, not to Grant, to Ava. I am here. I need you to step back. Ava. Step back. There was a long silence. Then Dante said, Victor, clear the alley mouth. Do not touch him. Ava let out a breath she had not known she was holding. Outside, tires rolled over wet pavement. A door opened. Someone shouted. Grant's voice rose, cracked with rage. You think this is over because she picked you. Dante's voice came through the phone, quiet and close. This is not about me. Police sirens filled the block. Blue and red light flashed against Ava's ceiling. Riley moved to the peephole. Officers are coming up, she said. Ava stayed on the phone. Dante said, I am hanging up now. Speak to them. Tell them everything. Where will you be where they can see me? The call ended. A knock hit the door, firm and official. Riley checked the peephole, then opened it. 2 officers stood in the hallway. Ava told the story again. The restaurant, the messages, the voicemail, the law school hallway, the photo. She handed over screenshots, timestamps, prior report numbers. Officer Daniel's name, every piece of proof she had collected while fear tried to convince her documentation was useless. This time it was not useless. Downstairs through the stairwell window, Ava saw Grant near a patrol car. His face was twisted, his hair damp from the rain. He was talking fast, pointing toward the building, toward Dante, toward anything that made him look less like a man caught outside a woman's apartment after sending a threat. Dante stood beneath the street lamp, hands visible, still as stone. Victor stood beside the Escalade with his arms at his sides. No one touched Grant except the officers. That mattered. It mattered more than Ava expected. One officer came upstairs to take Riley's statement. Another confirmed the photo appeared to have been taken from the sidewalk across the street. Grant had been found near the alley with his phone still open to the message thread. When they brought him toward the patrol car, Ava watched from the lobby with Riley beside her and one officer at her shoulder. Grant saw her. His face shifted instantly, rage folding itself into wounded disbelief. Ava, he called. Tell them this is a misunderstanding. Ava said nothing. His voice sharpened. You are really doing this? Over one bad night, Riley moved closer, but Ava stepped forward first. Do not talk to me again. Grant stared at her. For a moment she saw the restaurant again. Candlelight, his thumb over her pulse, his smile waiting for her fear to become obedience. Then the officer guided him into the car. Grant looked past Ava to Dante. You think he is better than me? Ava did not look at Dante. She looked at Grant. I think I am done letting men decide what I am allowed to survive. The officer closed the car door. The patrol car pulled away into the rain. Only then did Ava's knees weaken. Riley caught one arm. Dante did not move toward her until Ava looked at him. That mattered too. He crossed the lobby slowly, stopping several feet away. Are you hurt? No. Do you need anything? Ava looked at him. The question was simple. Not what do I do? Not who do I call? Not where should I put men? What do you need? She swallowed. I need to go upstairs with Riley. I need to sleep. I need you not to follow. Dante nodded once. Okay. Something in her chest cracked open at how much that single word cost him. Riley watched him carefully. Dante stepped back. Ava. She paused. I am proud of you. No possession, no claim, no credit, just the words. Ava nodded because speaking would have broken her. Then she went upstairs with Riley. Sleep did not come easily, but it came. For the first time since the lantern room, Ava woke without a message from Grant waiting on her phone. The silence was not empty anymore. It was hers. The legal process did not become simple. Nothing real ever did. There were statements, hearings, paperwork, phone calls, and mornings when Ava had to retell the same story until it felt like she was reading from the life of another woman. Grant was charged with stalking and harassment. The footage from the law building mattered. The messages mattered. Riley's screenshots mattered. The patrol officer's report mattered. So did the fact that Dante's people had not touched him not once, no matter how much some part of Dante had wanted a darker ending. A temporary protective order became a longer one. Grant's polished life began to crack in places he could not charm shut. Ava returned to class, not easily. The first week, Riley walked with her. The second week, Ava walked alone with her keys between her fingers and her phone fully charged. The third week, she crossed the quad without looking over her shoulder until she reached the library doors. Dante did not send guards, not without asking. Sometimes he asked. Sometimes Ava said no. Sometimes she said yes. The first yes felt like trust. The first no he respected felt like something deeper. Winter came early that year. Chicago turned silver and hard. The lake froze at the edges. Breath clouded in the air. Ava saw Dante in careful pieces. Coffee after class. Dinner in crowded restaurants. A walk along the river where he kept his hands in his coat pockets until she reached for one. He was not softer. She stopped wanting him to be. But he became more honest in the places where control had once stood in for care. One evening he took her to his family home in Lake Forest. The Russo house sat behind iron gates and old trees, stone and glass and quiet wealth under a sky full of snow. Ava stood in the foyer beneath a chandelier and felt the weight of generations looking at her from oil paintings on the walls. Carmela Russo entered like a woman who had never needed to raise her voice to be obeyed. Silver threaded through her dark hair. Pearls at her throat. Eyes that missed nothing. So, Carmela said, looking Ava over, "You are the woman who made my son ask permission." Dante sighed. "Mother." Ava held Carmela's gaze. "I did not make him. I required it." Carmela's mouth curved. "Good." Dinner at the Russo house was nothing like dinner with Riley. It was quieter, sharper. Every sentence had another sentence beneath it. Isabella Russo Dante's younger sister rescued Ava after dessert by pulling her into the sitting room where a grand piano waited near the windows. "My mother likes you," Isabella said. "She interrogated me about my childhood, my career plans, and whether I believe loyalty is a virtue or a trap." "Exactly. If she disliked you, she would have complimented your sweater and forgotten your name." Ava laughed softly. Isabella looked toward the dining room where Dante stood speaking with Carmela in a low voice. "He is trying," Isabella said. "I know. He will fail sometimes. I know that too." Isabella's eyes moved back to Ava. "Men in this family are taught that love means standing in front of everything. Bullets, blame, consequences. It sounds beautiful until you realize they never ask if you wanted to stand somewhere else." Ava looked at Dante. Across the room, he looked back. But he did not come over. He waited. The smallest, hardest thing. Later, after Carmela said goodnight and Isabella disappeared upstairs, Dante sat at the piano. Ava stood near the window, watching snow gather on the dark lawn. He did not ask for attention. He simply began to play. The music was quiet at first, almost hesitant. Then it deepened, filling the room without demanding anything from it. Ava watched his hands move over the keys. Hands that had signed violent orders. Hands that had offered help in a restaurant. Hands that had stayed open when she needed them not to close around her life. When the final notes faded, she crossed the room. Dante turned on the bench. "I am not your redemption," she said. His expression changed, but he did not speak. "I am not the proof that you are good. I am not the woman who makes the darkness worth it. I am not your reward for restraint." Dante stood slowly. "No," he said. Ava stepped closer. "I can love you. Maybe I already do. But I will not disappear inside you." His voice was rough when he answered. "I do not want you to. Yes, you do sometimes." A flash of pain crossed his face. Then truth. "Yes." Ava touched his chest just over his heart. "Then want better." Dante covered her hand with his lightly enough that she could pull away. "I am trying. I know." He leaned closer, then stopped. A question. Ava answered by rising on her toes and kissing him. It was not like the movies. There was no swell of music, no perfect angle, no city lights blooming at the exact right moment. It was warmer than that, less polished. His hand trembled once at her back before settling there with careful restraint. Ava felt it, that enormous effort inside him, the desire to pull her close and the choice to let her decide how close would be. She decided. For that night she decided him. Months passed in a rhythm neither of them trusted at first. Ava kept studying law. Her paper on coercive control became a campus presentation, then a workshop, then something professors started recommending to students who needed language for the fear they had been taught to minimize. She spoke about documentation safety plans, bystander intervention, and the difference between attention and control. She did not mention Grant by name. She did not mention Dante at all. Riley attended every session and cried only once, which she denied with great violence. Dante continued changing his businesses in ways that made men in expensive suits visit his office with pale faces. Some partnerships ended. Some debts were forgiven because Ava had once asked him what mercy looked like when it had a balance sheet. Some enemies grew restless. Some allies called him weak. He did not become harmless. Ava never asked him to, but he became more careful about the kind of power he allowed himself to admire. Spring came. Then summer. The city warmed. Restaurant patios filled. The river caught sunlight instead of snow. Ava still flinched sometimes when an unknown number called. Dante still went too quiet when she walked home late. Riley still hated most of his suits on principle. Life did not become simple. It became chosen. One year after the night at the Lantern Room, Dante took Ava to a rooftop overlooking the Chicago River. Snow fell lightly strange and early dusting the railings and softening the city below. The skyline rose around them in glass and steel bright windows stacked against the dark. Ava stood beside him with her coat collar turned up. "You are nervous," she said. Dante looked offended. "I am not." You absolutely are. I have negotiated with senators, union heads, and men who brought guns to dinner. And yet? He looked down at her. She smiled. He reached into his coat, then stopped. Ava saw the movement. Her heart stumbled. Dante took a breath. Ava Monroe, he said, voice low. May I ask you something without assuming the answer? Her eyes burned. That depends on the question. He lowered himself to one knee. Not like a king, not like a man claiming territory, like a man offering his hands empty. He opened a small black box. The ring inside caught the city light. I will not promise you a safe life, Dante said. I will not insult you with that. I will promise you the truth. I will promise to ask before I act when asking is possible. I will promise to stand beside you more often than in front of you. And when I fail, because I will listen when you call me back to myself. Ava's breath shook. Dante's eyes held hers. Will you choose me again? Ava looked at the man in front of her, then at the city behind him. She thought of a restaurant full of people who had not seen her fear. A wrong number. A black card. Riley's hand in hers. A police report. A piano in a cold house. Every step between terror and this rooftop. Then she looked back at Dante. Yes, she said. His face changed slowly as if joy had to cross guarded country to reach him. Ava held out her hand. But Riley controls the seating chart. Dante laughed, real and startled, and slid the ring onto her finger. Below them, Chicago moved on bright and restless and alive. Ava kissed him under the falling snow, not because he had saved her, not because danger had become beautiful, not because wrong numbers were magic. Because she had learned the sound of her own voice. Because he had learned to hear it. Because this time, when she reached for his hand, both of them knew she could let go. And she chose not to.